A couple years ago, I hired a photographer to take mug shots of me for the back covers of my books. She suggested that I bring props, so I brought a deck of tarot cards. She kind of freaked out. She told me that she thought tarot cards were portals to evil. I believe tarot cards are paper and ink, and any magic that they have comes from the person who is using them. But I didn't tell her that because she was really nice. She went ahead with the shoot with the tarot cards. She just was freaked out by them. And also, I don't like to proselytize. I'm Kirsten Weiss. I write mystery novels, including metaphysical mysteries. And there is a point to this story. And that point is if I did like to proselytize, I would have told her that tarot cards originated in Renaissance Italy during the early 1400s, probably around 1420. And we know this because there are court records of police raids on gamblers using carta da trionfi, or cards with trumps, excuse me. And this is an excellent description of a deck of tarot cards. A deck of tarot cards has four suits, very similar to what we see in our poker deck, but it includes a fifth suit of trumps, or as I called them in Italy at the time, triumphs. And the word triomphe, which I'm probably mispronouncing, pardon me, the word is a clue to where the images on these cards came from. Because at the same period in Italy, there were morality parades called triumphs, where each character in the parade triumphed over the character who came before it. So, for example, the devil. I'm sure he terrified many Renaissance children. But never fear, for following the devil came the Pope. The Pope beat the devil. But uh-oh, who is that dark-clad figure behind him? Yes, it's Father Death, and Death with his scythe beats the Pope. Now, these cards weren't actually called tarot cards until the 1500s, probably because the game that they were being used to play with was called tarocchi, which means fool. Tarocchi was a precursor to modern-day bridge. In the 1600s, there was a burst of deck production in France, and we got the famous Tarot de Marseille deck, which is still widely in use in Europe today. Now, the French added some things to the tarot decks. They numbered the trump cards from 0 to 21, Fool through the world. They also brought in Neoplatonic symbolism to decorate the trump cards. Neoplatonism is a 2nd century AD mashup of different kinds of Greek philosophy and Christian mysticism. So, for example, we see the Tower card representing the Tower of Babel from the Old Testament next to the Lover's card representing the Greek allegory of Heracles' choice between virtue and vice. We also see the Judgment card representing the Last Judgment from the New Testament of the Bible next to the Chariot card representing the allegory of Plato's chariot. Plato compared the soul to a chariot being pulled by two horses. One dark horse was pulling down towards earth, one light horse pulling up towards the heavens, and it's up to the chariot driver to drive the chariot and decide where the chariot actually goes. Now, the first actual written evidence we have of tarot being used for fortune telling comes in the 1700s. A Frenchman named Antoine de Gébelin, again, please excuse my pronunciation, he created what was basically an encyclopedia of the occult. And within that encyclopedia, he included a section on tarot. He associated each of the numbered trump cards with a different Hebrew letter, bringing Kabbalah into it. He claimed that tarot came from ancient Egypt. And I think the reason he claimed this is because he saw the images on the tarot cards and said, well, they represent something. And at this time, they were aware of Egyptian hieroglyphics, and the hieroglyphics were pictures that represented something. And so he kind of said, okay, same. They came from ancient Egypt, specifically from the alchemical book of Thoth. There's actually no evidence to suggest this. Again, all the actual physical evidence for tarot associates it with Renaissance Italy, but onward. Oh, and he also, at the end of his section on tarot, he included a brief suggestion on how to use tarot for fortune telling. The occult world went wild because you've got ancient Egypt, alchemy, Kabbalah, Neoplatonism, all combined in one deck. So that's pretty exciting if you're an occultist. In the Victorian era in England, when all of these secret magical societies like the Golden Dawn were coming out, they began to use tarot to train their members. And we know this, I specifically mentioned the Golden Dawn because the Golden Dawn brought us two fabulous classic tarot decks, the Thoth deck and the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. The Rider-Waite-Smith deck was created by Golden Dawn member Arthur Edward Waite in collaboration with the Golden Dawn member and artist Pamela Coleman Smith. Pamela Coleman Smith's innovation was to decorate the suit cards with the same elaborate symbolism that the trump cards were decorated with. This makes it a lot easier for fortune telling. So, for example, the Tarot de Marseille, the Five of Cups, is just a picture of 5 cups on a playing card, much like, let's say, 5 of Hearts. Pamela's 5 of Cups shows a man in a black cloak, and he's looking down at 3 cups that are spilled upon the ground. Behind him are 2 standing cups. Now, it's much easier to create a story out of a picture like that and to read someone's fortune than to just look at a playing card with 5 cups on it. So this deck really took off. It was originally known as a Rider-Waite deck. Rider was the publisher. Now tarot readers are calling it the Rider-Waite-Smith deck to give Pamela Coleman Smith some credit since she was the artist who created the deck. Next, we come to the Thoth deck. The Thoth deck was a creation of Aleister Crowley in collaboration with Lady Freda Harris. When Aleister Crowley first attempted to join the Golden Dawn, he was rejected. The other members did not want him. He was young at the time, but he was already quite notorious. But one of the founders, MacGregor Mathers, really liked Aleister Crowley, and so he initiated Crowley over the objections of the other members. The 2 men were on the outs with the society, but this pushed them closer. I'm not sure what happened, but their friendship broke apart quite spectacularly. MacGregor Mathers sent an astral vampire to attack Crowley. Crowley retaliated, sending an entire horde of demons led by Beelzebub himself to attack Mathers. And the Golden Dawn chucked them both out. It was all just kind of embarrassing. Crowley retaliated by publishing Golden Dawn secrets in his magazine. But later, he created this amazingly beautiful deck called the Thoth deck. It wasn't published until after he passed away. And again, he wasn't the artist. Lady Freda Harris was the artist. But gosh, it just looks like stained glass combined with Art Deco. It is so beautiful. The change he made was he switched up the numbering of some of the trump cards, and that is used as a basis for many decks today. So if you hear that a deck is a clone of the Thoth deck, it means it uses that numbering. And if you hear that a deck is a clone of the Rider-Waite or the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it means it uses that deck as a basis for the symbolism and meanings of the cards. Which brings us to today. There are thousands of decks on the market, and I would be willing to bet there's 100 new decks created each year. I even created a deck, the Untarot deck, which is sort of a deconstruction of tarot. Technically, it's an oracle deck because it doesn't follow the tarot structure of 5 suits and 78 cards. Mine has 56 cards, but it pulls from Neoplatonism and some of the original meanings of tarot. And it was designed for my fictional mystery school to train my fictional mystery school students in bringing more magic to their lives and how to live magically. Which brings us to the question, are tarot decks portals to evil, or are they merely paper and ink? Well, I have boxes of Untarot decks sitting in my closet right now, so I sincerely hope they're not portals to evil. That is not what I intended mine as. But like I said, I don't like to proselytize, so I will let you be the judge. If you enjoy these videos, please give this one a like or a share, and check out the link to my Untarot deck in the comments.